honestly, being dateable isn't using apps or going to events. It's the state of mind that you're entering both with.
Why are you dating? And most people can't answer that question in terms of putting themselves at the center.
A huge moment for me was actually just admitting that I really wanted to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the Alignment Academy podcast. Today we have a really exciting interview. I have been wanting to bring on a dating coach or a dating expert for a while now. And then when I was listening to the podcast, because I literally listen to like so many podcasts all the time, I stumbled upon an interview with the hosts from the Dateable Podcast, and that is Yue and Julie. And so I reached out to them and I was like, I love you guys. I love your perspectives on dating. It's very grounded. It's very healthy. It's very empowering. And so I really wanted them to come on the podcast. So Yue started her career as a dating coach and vlogger in New York City, working with clients all over the world. Her vlog was featured on Ask Men, Match, New York Post, Coffee Meets Bagel, The London Times, BBC, and more. She is a TV host and producer for shows like Tech the Lead, The Gadget Show UK, The Gadget Show China, and has appeared on MTV, AMC, Discovery, and NBC. And now she lives in LA. And then Julie worked in Silicon Valley tech scene for over 2 decades and understands the intersection between technology and the impact on human relationships. She is a trained qualitative researcher and app designer with an emphasis on human-centered design. Frustrated by dating herself at the time, she created the app 500 Brunches to facilitate more organic in-person meets for friends and dates, which grew into a thriving community. And now she lives in SF and is originally from Boston. So that is a little bit about our hosts. They are so amazing. They're friends. They have a great podcast called Dateable. They also just came out with a book called How to Be Dateable, all over just like really healthy dating advice. So I'm super excited for you guys to get into this episode. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Yue and Julie, welcome to Alignment Academy.
Thank you for having us. We're feeling aligned.
Yes, we're so happy to be with you, Kristen.
Conversation.
I was just telling that you guys that I've been looking for dating experts to come on the podcast, that ones that I resonate with and that we can talk about dating, because I mean, I feel like it's just such a big topic in today's world of like how hard it is to date and apps and how to do it and this and that. So like, I'm just so excited to get into all of it.
Thanks for finding us here. Yeah.
Yay. So how did both of you, I know it's probably different stories, but how did you fall into becoming dating experts, dating coaches? Like, I want to know, I want to know everything.
We chuckle every time. We're like, what does it mean to be a dating expert? Because there's so many ways to describe that. I have a background as a dating coach. I fell into that when I was living in New York City. There were a lot of very lost finance men who wanted help. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time and build up my client roster from there. But once I moved out of New York and I moved to San Francisco, this is when dating apps were first really taking off. I remember just feeling like, okay, I thought I knew everything about dating. I realized I know nothing about dating. I know how to trick people into liking you or trick people into wanting to go out with you, but I didn't know how to help people have long, sustaining, healthy relationships. And that's when I met Julie and we had these discussions about like, what is modern dating right now? There is no blueprint. Should we just do a podcast about it?
That's so interesting. So you just were helping finance bros at first, and then all of a sudden you were like helping all of them.
I didn't even know they were the 6'5" guys in finance, blue eyes in finance. And I didn't even know that that's their category. It was just a lot of lost men in New York who could pull many girls. I mean, it was very easy for them to get them into their, orbit, but they didn't know how to have relationships.
So interesting. And how about you, Julie? How did you find yourself as a dating expert?
I don't think I ever thought that I would be a dating expert. That is something that never crossed my mind. I considered myself a later bloomer. So I feel like I hit my 20s and I was like, I have never been in a real relationship. And honestly, even really dated. Like I feel like before that, early 20s, college was all like hookup culture, very casual. And dating was a very foreign concept. So I did what like any good student would do, and I enlisted like all the books, like Why the Men Love Bitches, The Rules, like all the, old guard of dating books. And I think in some ways it was helpful because it gave me like a little feeling of like direction, but a lot of it was actually really unhelpful because it was all like rules based and being very inauthentic to yourself. So I felt like I was this shell of a person that I was like dating the way I thought I was supposed to date. And, the more that went on, I was like, why can't things like progress into, another date, into a relationship? Like I'm doing it all right. I'm doing it how the rules say it, but nothing is happening.
Right.
And, like right before I met Yue, like I was in that relationship, like that one that I was kind of like, okay, I didn't expect to meet the person. I wasn't like trying, and it fell into place. And I was like, finally, everything is coming together. It's all happening. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Great. And then I learned the hard lesson that even if you meet someone and you love them and they love you, it doesn't mean a relationship always works out, especially if people don't have the capacity to be in a relationship. And also a relationship means different things, to different people. So when I started with Yue doing the podcast, I was kind of coming out of this really like heart-wrenching heartbreak.
Wow.
And also the lesson too, that like you don't always really know what's going on with people. Like I think in dating prior to this, I always thought like it was me. Like there's something about me that can't get to that, like past that third date, or this person doesn't want to commit. And I like quickly learned when you actually like, get deep with someone that they also bring a whole lot of their own stuff. And it's most certainly not always about you.
Absolutely. I think that relationships are one of the deepest portals to get to know yourself, right? Because you can only get to know yourself so much like on your own. And then you need that mirror to reflect back to you all of your own shit that needs to come up. So it's definitely a portal, dating.
And that's what's scary for a lot of people, to have their shit reflected back at them. And you always hear people complaining about the other person when it comes to dating. It's the other people's fault. They're the ones ghosting. They're the ones who are breadcrumbing and love bombing. But it's also an excuse for us to say, I wasn't ready to face myself.
1,000%. So my question for both of you is, what do you think is the biggest problem in dating today?
My God, there's so many problems. I mean, I think one piece of it is that, everyone's disposable. Like there's so many options that it's so easy to make people disposable. And like Yue was saying, it's so easy to point to someone else as the problem and what the reason is. And, we're in this culture where there's this expectation of love on demand. We write about this actually in our book, that this is one of the biggest traps that people fall into, because in every other part of life, like we expect everything to happen instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever waited like 10 minutes for an Uber? Like you completely lose your mind that it's going to take 10 whole minutes.
I mean, today, sorry, go ahead.
No. And I feel like that's like something that in the past, we had a lot more patience and time. And it's just like a testament to how fast moving our culture is. But the problem with dating with that is that it's so easy to be on to the next constantly, especially in this world where there's so many people and, everyone's disposable. And if they don't meet every criteria, like, let's just move on. And that just isn't how relationships are built.
Totally. And I think that sometimes there's so much that I want to get into, like the spark and everything, but Yue, what do you think? Do you agree that that's the biggest problem in dating, or do you think that there's another one?
Well, yes, that's definitely a symptom of many problems of dating. I actually see it as there's a wall between me versus you in dating.
Mm.
And I think that's what's creating the divide. We're very easy to blame others for the outcome of situations. But then we also do all this self-reflection and self-help that we don't put into practice in relation to someone else. So I see dating as this separation between the individual and the relational skills. And we're constantly just putting the other people on their own planet, and we're on our own planet, and we're on our own journey, and these people are on their own journey. And there is just absolutely no connecting between the two worlds.
Yeah, just like I think it's interesting because being independent, being an individual, all that is like great, right? No one's debating that's not a positive, but it's almost like the pendulum has like swung so far that it's like hard to let people in. And any time that's threatened, or it's like that me versus you of, oh, they didn't do something that I wanted, or they have a differing opinion, it kind of counters into what we're talking about with the disposable mentality onto the next. So there's this line of like being independent, being individualistic, but also like, is that getting in the way of like forming a relationship with other people?
Do you think that dating apps have something to do with that disposability of just like, well, if it doesn't work out with you, I can keep on swiping and there'll be another one? Or like, what do you think is the thing that's driving that mindset? And as people that are dating, I'm dating right now, how do we get out of that mindset of like just really wanting to maybe see things through versus just like going and letting people go?
The easy answer is yes, dating apps have facilitated this transition. But the real answer is dating apps are there for us to meet people who wouldn't normally be in our social circles.
Mm-hmm.
So the only goal of a dating app is introducing us.
Yeah.
It is the human factor that is actually getting us into this mindset of everyone's commoditized. And Julie, you sent me something the other day, like a post is like, in this era of AI, we just have to learn how to be more human. And I think that is exactly the issue with dating apps, is that we're letting the dating apps tell us how to date when we forgot the human factor. So to answer your question, Kristen, is like, how do we get out of this? Is we got to bring the human back. You are still in control of that little brick in your hand. It is not in control of you.
I mean, there's actually studies of like the way that apps are designed, that they are on purpose, like pulling you in, right? It's a hook model that they don't want you to leave the app, that they want you to get that next match. And yes, like some of that, again, is designed that way, but it's on us to also be like, what is that actually doing for me to accumulate a bunch of matches? Mm-hmm. Nothing at the end of the day. Like, oh, I can maybe like momentarily feel good. But I like to always be like, okay, once you've accumulated a few matches, just stop. Like, stop doing the continuous swiping and actually talk to these people. You can always go back if they don't work out. But I think if we get into the dynamics through apps, then it's a dangerous place because we're falling victim to the way that like, an app is trying to keep us there instead of trying to help us get off.
I loved both of your mindsets about this because I think there is so much like shaming dating apps, like dating apps are the worst thing ever. And it's like, we have to remember that it's a tool and the human is using the tool, and we can use the tool better in order to date better.
I mean, we hear this all the time with cities too. My city is the worst for dating. And let us tell you, hopefully this makes people feel better. We've talked to people pretty much in every US city and then also in global cities too. Everyone thinks their city is the worst city. So there's no way that every city can be the worst by definition. And I think it's just an easier place to go than looking inward at the end of the day. So we always try to find that like external. And dating apps, yes, there's a lot that's wrong with dating apps. No one's going to deny that, is this really the best way to meet someone through like a photo and a few lines of text? No, but it's also like a positive, like Yue was saying, like you would never even meet these people in the first place. Like I'm engaged to someone I met on a dating app. So I believe in them. I think they work. I've also met, boyfriends before that too. And one of the overarching pieces was like, we would never have interacted. So like, I guess like, do you want to just like throw that out for the potential to meet someone that could be amazing for you that you just wouldn't cross paths with. Yes, you might have to deal with the unpleasant message here and there, but it's kind of like the same as like any other thing. Like if you go to a bar, like not every single person there is going to be amazing. Most people aren't. And if you went to a bar and like you didn't meet anyone or even bad people came up to you, you probably wouldn't be like, oh my God, this bar, it's the worst place ever. Like you wouldn't be blaming it the way that we like, I don't know, dating apps are like this easy victim.
Absolutely. And I think that, we've just gotten so far away from like people skills and like actually meeting people.
Yes.
So it's interesting. So, okay, where I'm at currently is I've definitely tried the dating apps. I don't think I've like really ever had an amazing experience on it. Like I've gone on a couple dates on them. I don't hate them. Actually, every guy that I've dated from them, they're really good guys. They're just not my guy, Now I'm actually in this season of relearning networking skills and learning how to go up to people in person and learning how to just say hello to people. And it's actually gotten me further than on dating apps. And so I'm not against dating apps, but I'm curious for, I feel like there's a lot of people in my audience that are in a similar space than me. Like they want to date, they are open, but sometimes like it just feels hard to even fucking find the people to date, if that makes sense. Like if you're not using dating apps, and I don't think that we need to say, let's throw away the dating apps, but what are you guys' biggest tips for meeting people? Not only in the wild, but just like becoming a better dater. And I do recognize that your book is all about how to be dateable.
So there you go. Read the book.
Yeah.
I think in the way you just described dating apps versus IRL dating is the exact problem we're facing, is that it feels either or. And I would also go as far as to say that people use either or as a crutch for when the other one doesn't work out. So example is I'm out, I'm with my friends, I don't meet anybody. At least I have dating apps I can go to and swipe on people who are single, because nobody at this place is single. You meet nobody on the dating apps, or you have some bad interactions. You go, okay, well, at least there's events for me to go to. I'll go meet people out in the wild. It feels very black and white. What if we had a more expansive mindset to both of these being in your ecosystem? That you have dating apps as part of your support and tool belt, and you also have IRL events as part of your ecosystem. They expand your network and expand your energy so that, I don't know if you like talking about auras or anything like that, Kristen, but the aura of your energy is expansive, and it combines both of these so that you're not constantly shifting your aura between dating apps versus IRL.
That's such an interesting concept. So you're saying you feel like the best way to be dateable is like kind of just to integrate both and be open to all possibilities?
100%.
I mean, empowered by both.
Yeah. I think we put like too much weight on both of these. Like they're just like a way to meet people. I think honestly, being dateable isn't using apps or going to events. It's the state of mind that you're entering both with. So there's that also. But I think an example too with apps, like it feels like when we talk to people, it's very all or nothing. Like I'm consumed by them and then I remove them. I delete the apps and I'm off the apps and I'm making a grand statement. It's like when people like leave Instagram, they're like, I'm done. I'm not coming back. And then like a month later, they're like, here I am. I'm back. Yeah. It's like, was that necessary? Just use it a little less. And I think with apps, like I found personally, the last time I was dating, I was not using them that much, but I was going on just as many dates, if not more dates. And I would just use them on Sunday nights because the reality is that's the busiest day. There's a lot of data that shows that most people are using apps on Sundays at peaks. And that's because people are doing less, right? A lot of times on a Sunday night, it's that night that you like get, organized for the week ahead and you're not going out and you're not having plans. So make Sunday a ritual, like Sunday night, put on some music, have a glass of wine, whatever you want to do to like get into it. And I think being intentional and using less time will make it feel better too, because you're probably going to get more results in the sense that people will respond to you. And I think the biggest like I guess the biggest demise of dating apps is when like you message one person on a Monday, then they don't respond to you by Thursday, and then you don't set up the date and have another conversation till next Tuesday. And it's just like this long, drawn out process. I'd rather have a few back and forth on a Sunday, set up a time to either like have a call, like FaceTime or just a phone call. It doesn't have to be like that much. See if this person passes the basic like vibe check and then meet them if they do. And I think that's so much more efficient than having all this back and forth messaging and chatting and
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in that case, you're on the app really one day, get rid of notifications so they don't pull you in. You control the apps, they don't control you. And then have one day that you're meeting people, whether that's like in person or actually on a phone call or, you know, from your home.
I love that. I love those tips on how to use the dating apps better. And I think that's such a good idea to just use it for one day and get really intentional with it. And then like go live your life. And then maybe they're like just for, you know, meeting people in person.
That's the thing is like when I was dating, I was like, I don't want to be going on rando dates on Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah.
I want to be like having fun with friends and like being out in the world and experiencing life. So I purposely was like, and people don't have to be this rigid, but like I purposely was like, I'm going to do app dates on like a Wednesday. And if I don't have one, maybe that's just another excuse to like go out and do something. And then you have that time that's connection. I think that's what's so missing. If you're like always dating and everything's a bust, it feels really like disconnected.
Yeah.
If you ever wonder why you procrastinate, self-sabotage, you can't take action when you really want to, or even just feel massive doubt and imposter syndrome, odds are you have an inner child wound. If you're listening to this podcast, it's no surprise that inner work is my bread and butter. But the thing with doing inner work and inner child work specifically is that in order to do it effectively, you have to know the exact block that is holding you back. So I created a completely free quiz to help you find your biggest inner child block. Not only that, after you find your block, I'm going to give you the exact steps and tools that I would use to heal them, or I would give you if you were my client. There's no strings attached. I just want to help you heal. So if you want to take this free quiz, go down below and you'll find it linked.
I loved everything you said about like using the apps like that. How about for in person? So I want to actually cover both auric fields for our audience that are wanting to date better. Like, all right, so that's how the best, I would say a good practice to use the apps, but in person, how do we become more available? How do we signal availability? And how do we get the courage to make those in-person connections? As I think too, like as a woman, because I know for me, I so much of you guys' work that I've listened to is about like really putting you back in your power center and like empowering you.
Yes.
I have felt, and I've fallen victim before of feeling like, well, they're the ones that have to ask me out. So like I'm a fucking victim because like I don't have any say in it, you know? And so how do we date better in person?
First and foremost, if you are walking down the street and you saw yourself, ask, does this person look open? Does this person look friendly? Does this person look like they want to be approached? It's a very easy answer if you pull yourself out of your body and look at yourself from a third person. Most of us, we have our head down. We feel like when we have our phones in our hands, we have a friend with us. So then we don't feel the need to go out and talk to somebody. A lot of us have our headphones in. A lot of us even don't make eye contact. There's just been so many videos and social media posts about making eye contact, like it's like the biggest deal on earth. And it really is today. When's the last time someone made intentional eye contact with you? And how intense did that feel? And so that's first and foremost is, do I even look available if I were walking down the street and I saw myself? The second is we're missing these micro moments of social practice. So when we have our phones, we don't say hi, we don't wave, or we're not talking to the barista, we're not talking to the person at the cash register, we're not talking to the next person in line because we have our phones. That's our buddy.
Mhm.
When we miss these moments of micro practice of these social interactions, when the big social interactions happen, they feel really intense and overwhelming. Though those are the dates, or those are the ones where you feel like you have to cold talk to someone at an event.
Yeah.
So throughout your day, give yourself some sort of quota to hit. I'm going to have 3 micro interactions today. Doesn't matter who they're with, as long as they're with strangers, and I'm just doing something, a micro practice that you can take on a daily basis. So when the big interactions happen, you're already set.
Easier.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed that you said this, Yue, because like I told you guys, I've been like on my networking, talking to people in person game. And honestly, it's a muscle. It's a muscle to talk to strangers. And I literally force myself every time that I'm in a public place, I just start a conversation. You know, I could be in a grocery store, and like the hardest part is just finding that thing to like say something to. And I really loved what you said about like not how do I say this? I feel like you have to practice with people that you don't want to date, or you're not going to be able to date with the person that you want to date. You know what I mean? Like I do it with the 70-year-old that's looking at the cheeses, and I'm like, what cheese are you getting today? Versus like, you know, there's a hot guy next to me. There's no way I'm going to have the balls to say something, you know?
Right. I think there's always been this like big pressure with dating too, with, you know, this has been like around forever. Like I feel like we think it's a new issue, and I think every generation gets worse at social interaction. So it might be a more pronounced issue now. But I even look at like my parents, like they'll like make small talk with people like in like my apartment building and stuff. And like people just don't do that anymore. And I think every generation is getting worse for sure. So I think there's this pressure of like the big moment, like we were just talking about. And, you know, with that comes like getting in our head about what we actually say. And we like, you know, when we first started this podcast, we had a cup with this episode, and this was 10 years ago, even mind you, of this girl that would just like go up to random guys at bars and start talking. And like people were just like blown away. And I thought of it, Kristen, because you mentioned like that you still feel passive because you're a woman. And it's sad to me that 10 years later, that still feeling exists. Like we can't shake this. And it's been around forever, right? Like there's still a lot of stats of like women not making the first moves on dating apps too, or in person or anything. But when we talked to this woman that was on our podcast, she was just like, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm going to ask someone, you know, what's on the drink menu. I'm not like asking them to marry me. And even like if I give them like my phone number, like if they don't ever reach out, like who really cares? And I know it's easier said than done. Like when you're in it, it feels like the end of the world if like someone rejects you. But I think getting more rejection proof in general, whether it's meeting people in real life or on dating apps, it really helps. Like in our book, we actually have this whole part about rejection therapy. And this comes from like, who's the author, Yue? Like it comes from a different book.
Yeah, it's Young is his name.
Yeah. So it's not like our original idea, but we really believe that we should be bringing this to dating. And like it's asking for kind of ridiculous asks, like a free drink at a coffee shop or something that you don't think will actually happen, that you get so used to rejection that it becomes not a big deal anymore.
I think this is one of the most valuable tools that humans can have, truly. Like I actually just had a podcast episode about like mastering the art of rejection, because if you can't be rejected, like, or let's talk about it in the positive. If you can be rejected, you're going to have more dates. You're going to have more friends. You're going to have more clients. You're going to make more sales. Like there's so many things that we want that require getting rejected. It is a part of life. And I feel like it's the scariest thing because we just have been so comfortable for like the last couple, I don't know, like this decade.
Right. And I think some of it's a reframe too of like when you're in person, it's almost like thinking about like the the experience of the people around you more. Like it goes back to that you versus me mentality with dating, that we're always thinking about ourselves. Like, will I get rejected? Will this person not want to talk to me? What if we turn it around and be like, oh, I'm at this like event. This person looks like maybe they'd want to talk to someone. I'm going to go over and like ask how they like the event, or something that just like turns it to, I'm going to like, put myself in the act of serving someone else instead of like, what am I going to get from every interaction?
Yeah.
Right. It's information gathering. And if you put it in that context, there's no qualifier on the information you're getting because you're just getting information. And the information happens to be a yes or a no. That's what it is. And have you ever stared at a word for so long it no longer made sense to you or didn't mean the same thing to you? Like I'm staring at the word open and like, oh, now I don't even know what it means because I'm staring at it for so long. That's what rejection therapy feels like. When you get so many no's, the no longer means what it used to mean to you.
Yeah.
It gets redefined.
How do, as people who want to do personal growth on this, like I'm like, okay, just read the book and do the rejection therapy. So never mind on that question. You probably just have to practice, because that's what I've done is like, after I practice, I don't make it about me. I'm like, you don't even know me. How can you reject me? You don't even know me. Like
they can be married. Like it has like to do with like your desirability or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
I mean, I think like you're asking like, what can you do? I'd say the first thing you could do, I mean, obviously get our book, but like do an audit, of how you're bringing yourself to this world. Like Yue was saying earlier, like, how are you attending these events? Are you like head down on your phone?
Totally.
But also like, how are you showing up for dates? This was one for me that was so game changing. And I think a lot of people do this. I realized like I was never putting people's names into my phone that I was about to go meet on dates, because I was like, oh, there's a good chance I'll never see this person again. Especially if they were someone I met from a dating app. I was like, oh, they're not real yet. I probably won't ever see them again. Like I'll just put their like standalone number and not put them in as a contact. And I think that sounds innocent, but when you think about it, like you're showing up to the date thinking that this person is not a real human, that it's not going to work out with them. Like at that point, why are you even going on that date? I think just the hack of like putting them in my phone, I was like, oh, I'm excited to go and meet Kevin tonight.
Wow.
Instead of like, oh, I'm never going to see this person again. Yeah.
With a name.
And I think humanizing it and like little things, like these aren't huge things. You don't have to change anything about yourself really at this point. Just think about like really audit how are you meeting the dating world and be honest, because I think it's easy to be like, I'm showing up great. And then you look at these little things that you might not even think are actually a thing.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, like I'm just like looking at this guy like, yeah, exactly. That's such a small thing that, I'm looking at myself right now and I'm like, I do that too. I don't even.
Everyone does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so good. I heard you guys talk about this thing that I want you to cover, the dating North Star.
We see the dating North Star as your why. Why are you dating in the first place? And what is it that you are trying to work towards?
Okay.
And that what is it can't be a relationship or companionship or not wanting to die alone. Those are all the answers we get. It's like, why are you dating in the first place? But the North Star is really about you. Why are you dating today? And most people can't answer that question in terms of putting themselves at the center. And so many people, we get this answer a lot because that's what we do, right? That's what we should be doing. We should be dating. But okay, what if there was no should and you are dating because you actually want to be dating? Why? Why do you want to be dating?
And we have this exercise in the book actually that takes the dating North Star. It's comprised of the why. And we really encourage people to get rid of like relationship, partner, like all the things that you typically default to of like, why do you want to be dating, and go inward of like, what is it that I actually like, I'm looking for in a partnership? Like, what are those characteristics? We do this a lot, like not just even in the dating why, but we hear people be like, I want someone emotionally available. But what does that actually mean? Like, we're just using like these like high level words. And with dating North Star, our feeling is like, if you put it out into the universe, then the universe will start to center around that North Star. But if you can't even articulate what it is you want, if you're just like, I want a companion, like, what does that actually like tell you? So we like to pair that with, like the kind of like nuts and bolts more of like, what am I looking for with, what am I actually like, what are my core needs in a relationship or a partnership? So like,
Totally.
I'm, looking for someone that I can feel safe around. And like, we have a whole exercise that helps guide you through it. But our real like premise here is that if you become more crystal clear of what you're looking for, it's easy to see when someone does not
Isn't
possess
that.
any of
Yeah.
that. Yes. So you can say no faster. And I actually like, Kristen, you told us that you heard about us through Nikki Novo podcast. And we actually had her on our podcast a couple times, but the first time it was to do a reading for both of us. And she actually helped me dramatically. And I give her so much credit in the book too. But like, she's like, you're going to meet your person before your next birthday. That's what she had told me in the reading. But she's like, you run the risk of getting jaded. So you have to really counter that as you start to date and meet this person, and you have to figure out like what it is to let people go quicker. And I think letting go of people quicker, like looking back and reflecting on my dating history, that was one of the things that kept me single the longest, is that I was giving people more and more chances that really just like weren't the right people because they were not core to what I was looking for. So if I had the North Star, then I could have been like, okay, my desire is to feel like a priority. This person is not prioritizing me at all. I have what I need to like let them go and find someone else.
Actually, in a lot of you guys' interviews that I've listened to, I really loved the sentiment of, I don't think that you guys call it this, but what I really found from it was like this ego shedding of like,
yes,
not wasting your own time and like looking for the answer. I've even found in myself that, sometimes we don't ask the question because we don't want the answer, but like the answer is always there.
100%.
It's always there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would love to touch on, you guys call it relationship chicken. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
You did your homework.
I did my homework. So let's talk about relationship chicken and how we can do some ego shedding to be better daters and to not waste our own time.
Yeah. And it goes back again to your dating North Star. When you know why you're dating in the first place and what you're trying to build in a relationship, it makes it so much easier to shed all the ego and then this feeling of like, I need a certain outcome, because you're just trying to get some answers to see if you're aligned. So relationship chicken is something we observe when people say they want to get in a relationship, but in order to get in a relationship, they do all this crazy stuff that you would never do in a relationship, like waiting to text back or ghosting or, just like all the bad dating behavior we hear is everybody trying to protect their own hearts. They don't want to be the first one to say something. They don't want to be the first one to express their needs. They don't want to be the first one to DTR.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the goal is to DTR and to be in a relationship. So the chicken part is, what are we trying to do here? It's like you got two people trying so hard not to show interest, yet the end goal is to try to build something together.
And like you said, Kristen, it's all ego at the end of the day. It's all ego is why we don't want to get these answers, because we don't want to be the ones to say, I want to be in a relationship, and then we get rejected. It comes back again to that rejection. And the quicker that we can look at it as I'm not getting rejected, but I'm getting my answer, that helps us move on and not be with these people that keep us in this perpetual cycle. And I think having the North Star ahead of meeting the person is also important, because you know what you're looking for. And instead of being like, oh my God, I'm head over heels and crazy about this person, you could be like, objectively, are they actually like in line with what I want and what is important for me in a relationship? And if they're not, then there'll be someone else that will be. They're not the last human on this earth.
I think too, a huge moment for me was actually just admitting that I really wanted to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Like there was a shadow around it, and I had to do a lot of deep inner work on this because I thought that if I admitted that I was looking for my next partner, then that meant it was very deep. It was like that meant I was desperate, and if I was desperate, that meant somebody wasn't choosing me.
Yep.
And so I think that a lot of people are actually like acting cool, but like deep down desiring. And I think the first step is like simply being like, yeah, this is what I'm looking for, and I'm not willing to settle. And now I'm so open, like even with my guy friends or anybody who asks me when they're like, oh, are you dating? And I'm like, yeah, I'm dating very intentionally. I'm looking for like my next long-term partner. And I think that, the universe can only meet us when we actually claim what we want. It can give us what we want.
100%.
It's the narrative. It's the narrative that's been programmed into us that women should be shamed for wanting a relationship, that we are always the ones trying to find a guy to commit to us. And then men follow this narrative of, oh, just play the field. Like don't settle. And every girl will try to make you settle down, try to be free. That's the narrative that's been programmed into us. And the cool girl syndrome, CGS is what we call it, is when we pretend that we don't need a relationship or commitment, all in an effort for someone to accept us, all in an effort for someone to not reject us. When we deep down want a relationship. I have a close friend going through this right now. She's been in this situationship again for almost a year. And she keeps saying, well, at least I'm getting good sex. At least I'm having fun. At least everything's on my terms. I'm like, is it on your terms? Because you want a relationship, yet you can't ask for that from this person who's getting your time, your energy, your body.
Yeah.
Why is this so hard to understand? But I get it. It's like Julie and I have both been there. Is you want to be the cool girl? It's cool. I don't need anything. It's all right. We can take it slow. It's cool. Yeah, I don't need it. So like it is so you should be so proud of yourself for staking your ground and saying, I do want a fucking relationship. And if you don't want that, then you're not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like, it's nothing to be shameful for. I think, one thing that I was doing when I was like I had a lot of ego shedding about getting on the apps too. This was, I'm not currently on them, but when I was first getting back on them, I was like having a lot of ego around it. I'm like, oh my God, like I always thought I was going to be my person in person and blah, 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 blah. And then I like had to reframe it for myself. I'm like, how fucking cute is it that all these humans just want love,
right?
And they're just like signing up on their little dating profile, like, who wants to love me? I had to reframe it for myself about like, wow, like everyone just wants the same thing. And like, it's okay. And like, how cool is it that these people are putting their heart out on the line to find it?
I mean, so much of it's reframing. And the reality too is like, once you meet that amazing person, who cares how you actually met? It's such a tiny bit of your story. And I don't know, I think it's more tragic that you would like forego an entire way to meet that potential person because it doesn't like line up. It's this little tiny blip of your whole story. And we see that all the time, though. Like a lot of people are like, really like, I can't do this because it's not the vision I had. And it's like, okay, how do we reframe that vision? And is that vision actually serving you at the end of the day?
Energy work has completely changed my life and all of my clients' lives. When you learn how to shift your energy, you can attract more love, money, visibility, success so quickly because this universe is made of energy. I work with the energy from the seventh dimension and it shifts things so quick. So if you're loving this episode and you want to rate the podcast 5 stars, I created a completely free guided energy work to anchor self-love and build confidence. All you have to do to get it is rate the podcast 5 stars, screenshot, go follow Alignment Academy Pod on Instagram, and then send me a picture of your screenshot and I'll send it right over. After you do it, don't forget to DM me and tell me how it goes. Okay, now back to the episode.
Do you guys think that because of the narrative around dating apps and yeah, like there's obviously some negative impacts from them that we're going to be finding, like, do you think that we're going to have another wave of like in person or matchmaking, or like, where do you see the dating world going?
I mean, that's happening now. Yeah, I think now that's what everyone's looking for. But okay, I like hate to say this. It's like the barrier of bad news, but like the reason why the dating apps came to be is because that wasn't easy either.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's a cycle, right? Like none of it's
Right.
going to be that easy. And I'm again,
Yeah.
like, of course, go to all the events, enlist a matchmaker, like do what you need to do. But I think people always think it's a silver bullet when something doesn't work out. And then they get discouraged when they go to an event. Like, let's be realistic. Going to events every night, you'd have to go like every night of the week to potentially meet the same amount of people from a dating app.
Sure.
That's pretty exhausting as well. Like, pick your heart, like whatever that is for you. And maybe you're the type of person that's super energized by going out all the time, then that might be the path for you. But I think it's less about like following the wave of what the trend is and more about staying true to yourself. I think the run clubs was like a perfect example of that. We saw all these people that like despised running, like go to these run clubs and be like, I'm going to meet my person here because this is the new thing. And they just were like miserable in the process. And it's like, you're probably not going to meet your person when you're miserable.
Right.
So we hope to be catching you and some of your listeners if they are going through the shift of thinking, oh, should I just get off the apps altogether and just do more IRL? This is so important to hear. We keep asking people like, oh, people in relationships, how did you meet? And we just take that as the answer. Oh, Julie met her fiance on a dating app. I met my person in person. That's not the full story. If you ask how I met my person, yes, we knew each other from in real life, but I was also on an app where I met someone. I also met someone through tennis. I had to go through quite a journey to end up with the person I'm with. Yes, we didn't meet on an app, but if I didn't go through the app journey and then the other journey, I wouldn't be with him. Same with Julie. The person before her now fiance, they had met in person. So I think we need to understand it is a full journey that we're looking at, not just this moment in time of is it the app or is it in person? Because that's easy. That's an easy answer. But do you have 5 hours to sit down with Julie and be like, but really, what was this journey to now finding your fiance?
And I get like you have to meet people. Like I understand like you can't just not meet anyone or find someone. But I think we just put so much emphasis on like how we're meeting people instead of like how are we actually showing up when we meet people.
Totally.
We've talked to so many daters, thousands of daters on our podcast. We've interviewed for a book and all the stuff. And a lot of the times it's when people slow down and went on less dates and met less people because the headspace they were in, the mindset they were bringing, the approach to dating they were having was different. It was more attractive. It was more intentional. So I actually think like we overemphasize like where to meet people. And like sometimes we'll have these calls with like clients and they're just so in the zone of like, where should I go? What should I like put on my profile? And it's like, the reality is it doesn't kind of matter. Like it's more about like, how are you showing up when you're there?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what your guys' opinion on this is, but I have like my dating North Star. I'm hesitant to call it a list because I don't know how you guys feel about lists. Like I don't really love the word list, but I have the thing that I'm looking for, the values that are really important to me because like I'm an entrepreneur. I would want someone with a flexible lifestyle like me, someone on the personal growth journey. And for me, I actually try to be more intentional when I'm in spaces where that filter is already set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So like, for example, if I'm at a retreat or if I'm at an event, like I already know that most of the people there are into personal growth because it's a personal growth retreat, right? Like they value the same things as I do because it's a certain topic, things like that, where I'll be a little bit more intentional or I'll like spend more money every year on things like that. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Oh, love that so much because it is the same filtering you would do on a dating app. Like dating apps can't have you filter based on lifestyle, but at least there's filters. What if we could filter our real life interactions?
Right.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're just putting yourself where there's more opportunities.
Exactly. And I was actually talking to my guy friend the other day about this, who's also dating, and he was asking me how I date. And I was telling him, like, I was like, honestly, I date mostly at like events and like things that I am going to intentionally. And I was explaining to him, and this is not to say that you can't meet someone, right? But like I was like explaining to him, I've met a lot of people like at restaurants, or I've met a lot of people that are like out in the wild, but then I find that the moment I go on that first date, it's like they don't even pass the actual filters of like,
Right.
they're not an entrepreneur, they're not into
Right.
personal growth. And it's like, okay, well, we have actually nothing in common, but like when I'm in that setting, it's almost like everyone already is in the filter. Now it's just about like attraction, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big piece of it too is we actually like call it the perfect partner equation. That's what we have instead of the list, because I think it's important to know what you're looking for. But I think sometimes with lists we like pigeonhole ourselves
like
too
this,
much.
yeah.
And at the end of the day, we don't need a carbon copy of ourselves. Like, even I would maybe even challenge you, like we have on the perfect partner equation, it's fundamentals is what we call it, which is traditionally a lot of where the list stuff comes from, the feelings you get around someone and if you're aligned for the future. So with the fundamentals, like being an entrepreneur, that is like a typical list thing, like an
Yeah.
occupation. But we would maybe challenge you to take it like a step further and be like, what are the qualities of being an entrepreneur that are important to you?
Like
And how does that,
ambitious,
yeah, and like, how does that relate to being in a relationship with you? Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes we have like these lists of things that like, yeah, like they're important, but we're like kind of like pigeonholing who can actually get through.
Sure.
And it might not actually like be the be all end all. But I think
Mm.
surrounding yourselves and being in places that are just like the type of person you vibe with, that's a great like strategy, because it doesn't feel as like dating-esque. I think like anytime we feel like we're like, you know, kind of like at a singles event or something that feels like very forced with dating, it's hard to like be our authentic selves and actually connect with people. So I think the more we can like bring dating into like all parts of our lives and looking at it less as like dating bucket, but more of just like I'm meeting people wherever I go. And like maybe they'll turn into a date, maybe it'll turn into a friend, maybe it'll turn into a business partner, whatever that is. I think that mindset is healthier than me like, I'm going to this thing and I must meet someone that I go on a date with tomorrow.
Totally.
You have to think about when making this list is what is variable and
Yeah.
what is a non-negotiable that doesn't change. So your example of wanting to be with someone with a flexible lifestyle, that's actually very variable because your lifestyle could change throughout your life, throughout your lifetime. I would much rather be with someone who may not have a flexible lifestyle, but willing to lean in and compromise on a schedule that works for the both of us than being with someone with a flexible lifestyle where we don't have the opportunities to work together to get through some of these conflicts. So what I'm saying is when you filter based on similarities to you, it does make the initial connection much easier because you fall into the same lifestyle and the same way of thinking. But when you are faced with conflict, which is inevitable, that's when you know if this person's your partner or not, because it's all about how they deal with conflict with you. So our challenge is always like, bring on the conflict. You know, if you find someone who's very different from you, not an entrepreneur, just doesn't have a flexible lifestyle, the bigger question is, how are they integrating you? How are they building this with you? And that's way more sustainable in a lifetime of a relationship than someone who just happens to have these similarities to you.
That's such a good point. It's like at the end of the day, it really is like conflict and repair in relationships.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, how does someone make you feel? Like, do they make you feel like the best version of yourself? Do they, you know, like what do they bring out? We have in our book the only 7 things that matter when choosing a partner, like as a gut check. It's not like, you know, the be all end all of everything, but it will tell you like, is this person worth pursuing further? And a big piece of that, one of them is conflict. Like, how do they navigate that?
Yeah, so good. You know, my last question for you guys is that I have a lot of 30-some or even 40-some-year-old single women that are kicking and screaming, you know, for good reason, because they want a partner and like they feel helpless and they thought they would be married with kids by now. And like, I even have friends that are just like, I need to meet my partner because like I need to have a kid like right now, you know? And I think that there is a really real part that it's like God's plan, the divine alignment of it all. Yo, what are your tips or what are your words of wisdom for someone who just wants it so bad, but they kind of just need to like release the grip a little and let go and let God?
So much of it for me as my personal journey, I've learned that what is meant for me comes to me with a certain level of ease. Meaning there is not a lot of challenges in getting what is meant for me.
Yeah.
And if I wanted something so bad, I think this kids question, we get this a lot. Then we ask them, is it the kids or is it having kids with a partner? If you truly just really want kids, there are ways to do that. And you can absolutely go pursue that. But if you want kids with a partner, it sounds like the partner piece is the prevailing piece. Right. So I still believe you are exactly where you need to be, and what is meant for you will show up, and it comes in a way that feels peaceful, and this calmness happens, and it doesn't come with all this friction.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm, 40. I just turned 42. I'm getting married this year. I still get anxiety about like, is it too late to have children and all of that? And I think like some of it, I did egg freezing. Again, everyone needs to make a call if that's for them. But I think a lot of us go there and we can get a lot of anxiety about just like what's meant to us in the future. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of advancements in medicine in general that are allowing women to have children later and later. So there's that side of it. But also the other side, I've kind of like let go a little of like, yeah, it would be great to have a family. And I hope that's still in the cards. But if it's not, like I can still have another great life. And also there's other ways to have a family that's not always biological. Like there are many, like, I mean, you could do like embryo, like freezing, and you can, I don't know, I forget the exact name of it, but like you can basically like adopt embryos. Like there's all these different ways nowadays. So it's like maybe it's just being a little more, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, Kristen, of like reframing of like, what does it actually mean to me at the end of the day? Maybe that's not ideal because it's not what you thought would happen with biological children, but you could be like, oh, well, I'm still going to parent and like have a family and do all these things. So I think it's like looking at the larger picture with it, but also like this feeling, and it's so hard because when you're in it, you're like, all I want is this to happen.
Yeah.
But I remember like when I was just like dating and dating and dating, one of my friends was just like, I think you're like doing too much. Like maybe like less is more, like it'll happen when you least expect it. And at the moment, that was like the most infuriating thing to hear because I'm like, well, of course you have to date. Of course you have to do all these things to get there. But it was the times that I was like lean back a little and was like more focused on what I was bringing, the energy that was coming, how I was showing up, and less about just like racking in dating like a numbers game. That's when things started to fall into place. So again, it goes back to like that audit. Like maybe it's like giving a little more breathing room actually is getting you closer to the end goal instead of like fixating on that end goal.
Yeah, and I think that at the end of the day, life is actually realizing that you have control and you don't. You have control of your mindset and you have control of, how you react, but like a lot of it is releasing the grip on like how you thought your life should go. I feel like the older that I've gotten, I've just been like, wow, I thought I knew so many things and like I really don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of all of that, what's brought me so much peace is I ask myself on a frequent basis, what do I get to do because of where I am today? What do I get to do because I don't have kids? Right? And then it gives me so much motivation. I'm like, oh my God, I can just eat whenever I want to. I can pick up my stuff and I go travel. I can go take a walk right now without thinking about, oh, is my kid okay? So what do I get to do because of where I am? And what am I lucky to do? What should I be grateful that I get to do? And if you keep reminding yourself of that, then you'll understand that where you are is exactly where you need to be, because everything that we're experiencing today is temporary. All this goes away eventually. So why not optimize the phase, the season of life you're in right now? Because you may not revisit this for a long time or ever again.
Yeah, it's so true. Like even for me, it's like I spend my money how I want to. I go to as
Right.
many events as I want to. I eat what I want to when I want. Like there's a lot of beauty in everything. Like you said, everything is temporary. No one's gonna stay single forever.
No.
And I think it's like, how happy can you be unconditionally right now? Because the truth is that that's the point of life, is like unconditional happiness, without condition, without the partner, without the thing.
Yeah.
How can I be happy within me? Because I know that I'm lovable, I'm worthy, and I
Totally.
deserve love. And I can have that right now if I can feel love.
I mean, not only does that make your day to day a lot more pleasant, right, than thinking about like what you don't have, but it's also so much more attractive when you are dating.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you're like now this person that has all this full life of things that are going on for them versus this person that's just looking to date and meet someone. Like
Mm.
if you were to think about like someone you'd meet, which is more attractive? Let's be honest.
For sure. I definitely don't want to meet someone that like feels like they're like, I need a freaking partner to feel
Right.
whole. Like I
Yes.
want to be someone that's like, my life is so fucking dope. And if you want to like join in,
Right.
Yeah.
then amazing. And if not, like,
Great.
you know, like
Good for
bless
you.
and release.
I mean, that's been a prevailing theme of people that we've encountered that have met their partner too, is that like they got to that place that they're like, if being single is like what it is, it's not that bad. My life is pretty damn great.
Yeah.
And I think once you hit that place, it's just so much like the energy you're radiating is just so different.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I feel like that's a really great place to leave people, of like just pondering, how do I get to the place where I'm so excited and lit up about my life? And,
Yeah.
you know, on Alignment Academy, we talk a lot about soul purpose. And I think that for me, my seasons of singleness have been the deepest deep dive into my purpose and
Yeah.
what makes me happy. And I think that, you know, there's so much rich work that we can do when we have space to do it when we're single. So
Yes,
Yes.
100% agree with that.
Yes.
amazing. Well, thank you so much, Julie and Yue, for coming on Alignment Academy. I know the listeners are going to freaking love this one. Where can they get the book? Where can they find you? Where can they listen to your podcast? Give us all the tea.
Yeah. How to Be Dateable is our book. It's at pretty much any major bookstore and then Amazon, of course. We have our audiobook that you can get as well that people have been loving. So definitely recommend that. But howtobedateable.com, it's all there. And then dateablepodcast.com. But then, of course, any podcast platform out there, we're there.
Amazing. Yeah, they've been podcasting for since 2016, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So almost 10 years. Yeah.
Crazy.
Long time.
They are OG podcasters, guys. I've listened to a lot of their episodes. They're really good. So go check them out. We'll link them below. And thank you guys for hanging out with us for another week. I will see you next week on Alignment Academy. Bye.